Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to the React Test-Driven Development live stream. I was about to say podcast. This is not a podcast. I don't know how to do podcasts, but I do know a little bit about doing this. So I'm Josh Justice. I go by Coding It Wrong here on Twitch and on, I think on YouTube. I forget. But also on Twitter, which is the most important, and on GitHub. So really glad you're here. Everybody that's joining on the stream, thank you for joining in. Please say hello in the stream chat. I'd love to just know that you're there. And any questions or feedback you have as we go would be great, especially because today's going to be kind of experimental. I'm going to be doing things that I've done once before or not before, so we'll see how it goes. If you're watching on the recording as well, I'm really glad you're checking us out on the recorded on Twitch or YouTube. So let's jump in. What we did last time is we got our first, well, we had already had previously our first feature in the app we're building covered by test-driven development. And then last time we used those tests to refactor the app to change the look and feel to use a library called React Materialized. And we were able to refactor it under test. Ran into some small challenges, but just got to walk through those and see the confidence that we had from refactoring our app under test. Incidentally, there was one problem we ran into where I wasn't able to figure out how to close the modal in React Materialized. So before we do anything else, let's jump into that. I should pull up the docs here. React Materialized. So in the React Materialized docs, if you pull up the modal in here, it's not totally obvious. There's there's a cancel button that's added for them, and that allows you to close it. But it wasn't clear how to close it programmatically once the form was submitted. So I looked through. Materialize is actually a general CSS and JavaScript framework, and then React Materialize adapts it to React. So I was looking through the Materialized docs, and I found something that helped me understand something I was seeing here in React Materialized docs here, where they said button, and then on click, they actually used jQuery. Anyone not heard of jQuery? If you're a newer web developer, you may not have. It's an older imperative style doing web development. So with jQuery, we pull up the foo element here, the modal with this ID, and then we call the modal method on it, and we pass the string open to open the modal. So in fact, that's actually a way that we can close the modal as well. And it's really interesting. It's not a normal React way of doing things, but React Materialize, I know, just recently released an alpha or a beta of version 3, where they're going to be doing some rewrites to get things more in line with React. But for now, we can do this, and that's good enough for now. Again, our app is under test, so we can always change it out later if we find a better way to do it. So I'll just show you where that is in the code. I don't know where it is in the code, but we'll find it. Yes, here. So on the restaurant list page, I'll show it to you in the app for folks that may not remember. This app is for tracking restaurants, what we think about restaurants and dishes at them. So we have add restaurant, and we click on it. This is interesting. Have I pulled the latest changes in? This looks like this should be a modal, and it is not a modal. Well, let's find out. We're just figuring these things out as we go. Add modal, not dismissing. Get show says modal. Add restaurant. Oh, the new restaurant form is still there, but that's showing up inside the modal. Interesting. Clearly, I have not tested this out very well. So let's check it out and see. Maybe this is like within the modal or something, and I'm just not thinking about the fact that there was not a kind of a specific look and feel added. Let's stop it. Let's restart it. Let's just say this is the modal. That will help us to know if this is the modal. There we go. Oh, okay. It fixed a visual I had up there. It has a cool animation. It tells us this is the modal. This is great. Okay, cool. So let's take that back out. Now we're much more caught up. So we have the app. We click add restaurant. The modal shows. And so then we have a close button here. Well, actually, yeah, the close button will close it. That was built in. But also when we submit this. So now when we type into here, click save, it'll dismiss it as well. And the way we do that is, so the modal has an ID add restaurant add restaurant modal. And then up here in the handle add restaurant method, after we set the state to save the new restaurant name, we find the add restaurant modal by ID, and then we call the modal method with close passed in. And I have 2 lines of comments here to explain how I figured that out and why it's so atypical. I'll say that. So that's working. And we've actually got Cypress working and passing it as well with our end-to-end tests. Actually, let's make sure, because again, we had an old version of the app cached and running somehow. So let's rerun it. Yep, and sure enough, it confirms that the modal comes up and then goes away. And you can see, actually, you can see if we go through the save state of the DOM, we can see the different snapshots of it. And we see that before there's no restaurants, and at the end there's sushi place. And then we can see that we're confirming that the new restaurant name field is no longer there. So that's good, and the unit test passed as well. Okay, so we have our app. It's working well. We've got some nice functionality. We have some edge cases we want to cover, but in the meantime, let's go ahead. We want to get it up and running on continuous integration. So if you haven't, this is going to be one of our big focuses for the day. I see Barto in the house saying, hey there. Hey, Barto, thank you for coming. Glad you're here. Please jump in. Any comments, questions as we go? So if you haven't used continuous integration before, it's a kind of functionality, and CircleCI is one provider for it, that will run, there's a bunch of different things it can entail, but what we're going to use it for, and what's common, is to run your automated tests when you push up a new branch, and whenever you merge or change anything on the master branch. So this can ensure that, A, if you forget to run your tests locally, that they're caught. B, it can actually prevent merging a PR until it passes, and it also make sure that things aren't just working on your machine, that this standalone automated cloud server can pull down your code, and run the tests as well. So let's get that working. Actually, this morning was the first time that I'd gotten Cypress working on CI, just because I haven't used it for production use, and so I haven't taken the time to do that before. So I got it working for one project, and we're going to kind of see if we're lucky and try to get it going for two. So let's walk through that, and then we'll kind of look into some other things later around adding some more edge case coverage using component tests. All right here, so this is my account for CircleCI. It's free for open source software, and so if you have like openly shared code like we do here, you can run it for free, so that's great. There's a button over here that says Add Projects, so we'll click on that. You can see I have other projects, mainly this fire hose one, but I'll add another project, and it's going to show me, you log into CircleCI with your GitHub account, and so it'll show you the projects available to you. And so there is, where is it? It was here before, yeah. React TDD live stream, that's our project. I'll zoom in a little bit. And so we click Set Up Project. So this is going to get it started. So it kind of walks us through it. We want to run the tests on Linux, because Mac, I think, costs money. Maybe not. And what language are you using? Well, we can do Node. But actually, they're going to walk us through a config file, but we're actually going to use a sample Cypress config file instead, because Cypress has their own Docker images that are going to pre-install some of the dependencies we need. So, but we'll follow what they're saying here. Create a folder named .circleci and add a file config.yml. So let's do that. So in the root of our project, actually I'll make a new branch first. CI and edge cases. Oops, CI and edge cases. So that's our new branch. So we'll go in here, create a folder. CircleCI, starting with a dot, right? And it's disappeared. Why can't I see it? It's folder name .circleci. I just pressed the wrong thing. So and then we want a config.yml, and there it is. But instead of using this, we're going to go through and use the Cypress one. I think I included the link in the stream notes, and they'll be in the recording notes as well. But I forgot to save it over here, so we're just going to find it this way. So Cypress has great guides you can go through. And if we scroll down, there's a continuous integration section. And in there, we'll do setting up CI with CircleCI. You can see that Travis is another great CI platform, and you can do generic things with Docker as well. So here we go. So here's an example CircleCMI, not v1 config file, we want a v2 config file, because that's current CircleCI. So we're just going to copy this. Actually, we're going to use Yarn, because I like Yarn. Okay, copy that over. So let's take a look here. This is not going to be a full CircleCI or Docker tutorial, but we'll see here. So we're saying, okay, there's a build job, and we have Docker set up. Docker is a, not virtual machine, container platform that lets you kind of run standalone code using different operating systems and things like that. It works out great for CI because you can just configure the environment your code should run in. So we're going to use an image, sort of like a pre-set up like disk image, one provided by Cypress called their base image, and we're using Node version 8. I was using Node version 8 LTS up until a couple days ago, just this week, when version 10 was promoted to LTS. And so I switched to that. But version 8 works well for here. It worked good this morning when I was testing on a different project. We have some environmental config. Color seems nice. working directory is fine. We'll just plop the code into some directory up there on the server. And so what are the steps? Like, let's think through this. Like, first we're checking out the code. Then they're going to restore the cache. So it's going to cache some kind of data related to our build. And then we're going to run the code. So next we're going to run installing dependencies. So we're going to do a yarn install. And then here we're going to save the cache. So this is going to actually cache and save the stuff that was installed. The idea here is this should save us some time, not having to reinstall all the yarn dependencies from scratch every time. So that would be good. And then here we have a run command, and I found out you want to do yarn bin cypress run this morning, or else, at least for me on CircleCI, I was getting a problem. So this is good. We're going to want to do more than just Cypress. We're going to want to do our Jest test and ESLint as well. But let me just glance over at my cheater monitor here to see if I did anything different this morning. No, it looks pretty straightforward. So, yeah. Oh, no, there is one other thing. So this runs Cypress, but we need to actually start up our app to get it to be hit. So the way we can do that, there's a program called Wait On that I think the Cypress docs were recommending to allow us to wait for a server to start up. And so I'm going to actually copy this over. I guess it could sort of be in the install dependencies step, although it wouldn't be cached, so I don't think it's probably worth it. So we'll just put it here, down here. So we're going to run an npm install g, because I haven't figured out, I have problems when I use Yarn to globally install things. I don't know what's up. But npm install g wait on, and then let me look for an example of running the server. Yeah, here we go. And well, let's see if this works. This is going to be somewhat experimental because, like I said, I just got this working for the first time this morning. 1234 is the name of our... that's the port that our server was running on, right? Yep, 1234 because we're using Parcel, so that's cool. So this might work. Usually CI runs don't work on the first time, and one of the interesting things about doing CI programming is you do have to push the code up to really try it out. So let's just try this up. What does deal with restaurant list page? All right, well, that's been reverted. That's fine. I just had some temporary changes in there that I saved. So now we're going to add CircleCI. Attempt to set up CircleCI. Very low degree of confidence there. So we're going to go ahead and push this up to the server. And actually, so the next thing we want to do is to actually set up CircleCI to run, let's see what we have to do. Start building. This will launch your project on CircleCI and make our webhooks listen for updates to your work. Let's see if we can click that now, or if it wants us to have this on the master branch. So it's pulling things up to React TV live stream. It says master build error, probably because no configuration file was found in your project. And that's fine, because nothing's on the master branch yet, and that's okay. So what we would like to do is to push up this branch. I think I do have it. It should be showing here. I'm going to go ahead and make a pull request. And so this is cool. So like check this out. CI and edge cases. I wouldn't usually put up a pull request until I was done the work. So now if you're using GitHub to store your code, it says, let's see here. Usually there's options in the settings here or a recommendation to connect in the build process to connect with a provider like CircleCI. So let's actually see here under connect GitHub CircleCI, because that is not something I did earlier this morning. Oh, that was already set up. GitHub integration. Start building now. I mean, okay, I'm logged in with GitHub. Let's see here if we can find the settings. Yeah, this sounds familiar. Okay, test commands, notifications, support, docs. GitHub and Bitbucket integration. Here we go. We're figuring this out as we go. Okay, add a config YML file. That's suggesting that that's... Huh. Well, let's try merging this to master. So let's just merge that down and see if that helps. We can always make another PR later. Deleting the branch. So now on Circle CI, on the project. All right, now it's running. So we can actually click on running here to see it running. It failed, no surprise there. All right, I got a YAML error. Interesting, because this copy pasted. So how could there be a YAML error? Okay, so let me compare that with the file that was working this morning. Okay, that might be out of date actually. Interesting. Maybe I'll need a pull request to them. I got some time this week actually. I think this is the format we want the keys in. This, unless you work in ops, it's common that you're not messing with CI configuration all the time. So you will often run into a situation like this where you're just having to fiddle with it. So that's something that happens. Here, did it automatically format that? VS Code has started automatically formatting things for me, and I'm not sure how I love about that. I'm not sure if I love that. This, at least, check out. I'm having trouble here. Let's get this going. All right, I'm going to pull down the latest on master. I'm going to go into this file. Oh, that's what happened to the folder before it got put into source. All right, so it's here. I'm going to say CI because oftentimes it takes lots and lots of CI commits to get it working. But Circle CI version 2 is much faster than version 1, and so that works out all right. So if we watch the page, or maybe if we reload the page, it'll run. It'll attempt to. All right, cool. So this is great. So it's gotten out of the install dependencies step, and as it runs through here, these different steps show up, blue when they're running and then green when they're successfully complete. So we can watch these dependencies get installed, and we'll see how this goes. No copyrighted music. Don't do it. All right. So Barto, you're gonna have to chat with me while we're waiting for builds to happen here, especially if I keep messing it up. This is running 33 seconds, taking a little while to build packages. Hopefully the cache will help with that. Like I hope it will actually catch it and be good to go. This did not take too long this morning, so it maybe took this long. So, we could get lucky and this might all work correctly on the first time. Let me make a note to do a PR. PR to Circle CI, to Cypress for keys format. So, I'll update that for the next person. Okay, so installing dependencies succeeded. Saving caches happened. So now we're installing that wait on thing. That was fast. Now we're running it. So we run yarn start to start the server, and then wait on ensures that we wait until the server is actually running at that port before we proceed. Okay, now we go to the next line here. Syntax error near unexpected token new line. Bin bash. All right. Bin bash. That must be something automatically that's happening. So let me switch back over to my cheater monitor here and see what's happening. Bin Cypress. Yarn bin Cypress run. So I did that, but it was in like a separate file. Oh, you know what? It could be this. It's probably that. I did not have record or record key before, so that's probably something we don't need. So let's just push this up. Once we get this working, we'll make sure the build happens automatically upon branches being created as well. So now let's check out the next build. Let's see how fast the cache restoring goes. It's restoring it. Now we're installing dependencies. This should be a lot faster. It still attempts to run the command, but the idea with Yarn, the hope would be that if they're already installed, that they're pretty fast. So let's see if that's the case. Yeah, that was way faster, so that's great. Okay, that's good to know. I wasn't paying attention to that earlier because I was messing with everything. Okay, so we're starting and waiting on the server to come up. This looks promising. Okay, sweet. Cypress ran. We got an error, but that's fine. We'll look into that. Connection refused. Okay, so that did not happen to me earlier today, so we might get stalled in getting things running on Cypress. The other thing I can try is to put this into one script file like I did earlier this morning. So let me do that. So I'll just create a bin folder at the root of my app. That's a common convention from Rails projects that I've worked on. And we'll create a new Cypress file in here. I'm going to chmod to make that file executable before I do anything else. And now we'll just copy this over. So as part of one file, we can start Yarn, wait on localhost 1234, and then run Cypress. And that was working this morning, so that might work here as well. So then the config file. It might be something about them like running in separate shells or something like that. So let's try this. Oh, we don't have an example folder here. So run bin Cypress. Say CI. CI gonna CI. That's what's gonna happen here. So now we're gonna push it up and see if this makes a difference. And if that doesn't make a difference and I can't think of anything else while we're waiting for it to build, then I'll probably move on. Guess you don't need to watch me set up a Circle CI the entire time we're here together. Unless that's what you came here for, in which case that's just great. Alright, so we're restoring the cache, installing the dependencies. Scrolling to the bottom seems to not always work automatically, so I'll manually scroll a bit if I need to. Dependencies a little slower this time. It's okay. Alright, server running. Yeah, I'll bet you these commands are separate commands. I'm hoping this will work. Hey, a green check. Sweet! We got lucky. This is great. Okay, cool. So check it out. So Cypress here, with the Cypress run command, actually runs in the console instead of the GUI, because that's needed for the server. It ran displays the restaurant in the list, and it succeeded. So that's awesome. We're good to go. We are green. And some kind of random Unix error at the end. Who knows? Who cares? It's all good. So that has success. So now let's see what's happening in our project here. Well, I guess once we have a separate PR, yeah, let's make a new PR. So a new branch. So we'll say this is for CI, unit, and ESLint. So we'll make a new branch for getting the unit test running and ESLint as well. So this could actually should hopefully be simpler. We're just going to do yarn unit to run the unit tests, and let's just add that. We'll add ESLint separately. Just say CI though. We'll push this up to the server, and we'll see if when we create a PR now, if it's going to automatically run, and we'll troubleshoot it if not. Unit tests and linting, CI unit tests and linting, create pull request. So what we want GitHub to do is to run it. Oh yeah, check it out. So it's actually automatically set up, which is really sweet. It used to be very easy, but now there's not even anything that needs to be done other than pushing things to master directly, apparently. So Circle CI, now that it's seen that that's worked, it's actually building it on every PR. While this is running, let me check in the Circle CI project settings to see something. Advanced settings. So here we go. So check this out. There's a setting here that says only build pull requests. By default, we will build all the commits for this project. So so that's like anytime you have a branch pushed up to GitHub, any commit that gets pushed up, CI will be run on it. But then once this is turned on, we will only build branches that have associated pull requests open. And then for your default branch like master, we'll always build all commits. So I recommend turning this on. Only build pull requests. There's just no reason to run it on every commit that you push up. Like I can do a pull request for anything that I want that done on. If you're using, like if you have an organization where you have limited amount of Circle CI resources allocated to you, this prevents time being taken up by a bunch of test runs that aren't being used for anything. Not to mention saving the environment by saving some of the power there. Bardo says, I'm kind of getting the stream delay because I'm watching on mobile with slow 3G, so no real-time chat. No problem at all. You can definitely feel free to come back in with a question later, bigger picture question or anything like that. So sorry about the delayedness or the choppiness. Definitely feel free to check out the recording later if that's helpful. But I'm definitely glad you're here. So, we'll check it out. So on GitHub, on Circle CI, it says all checks have passed. We can show all checks, and we can see the Circle CI build has happened. I think there might be a setting to make sure that we can't merge unless the build is passing. So let me check that in the project settings. I forget what that is. Branches, branch protection rules, webhooks, integration and services. So let's actually look for that. GitHub prevent merge if check failing. Required status checks. Protected branch. Set up either loose or strict status checks. Set up required status checks. All right, settings, branches. Protected branches, required status check. Okay, settings, branches, branch protection rules. All apply rule to master, I guess. Require pull request reviews. Require status checks to pass before merging. Requires branches to be up to dates. Yeah, that's a good idea. Cool. So we create it. Enter my super secret password that you don't need to see. Cool. And then maybe we'll see that later. Actually, we will be able to see it later because I'm going to push up another commit and it's going to prevent us from merging. So this is while it's running. So this is great. So now let's run ESLint on the server. Let's actually see if lint is failing right now. It seemed like I was getting a warning, so maybe. You know what? I actually saw this problem where lint was being run in the wrong place. I think on a different project of mine. So the linter, it doesn't want. If I do source ****, that only does JavaScript files at a lower level. So let's just do this, and let's just do this. I think this might be what we want. So let's run lint. Let's see if it fails. It does not fail. Let's have a problem in our linter, and let's see if it failed. Yeah, Visual Studio Code is automatically running formatting for me, and that's fine, but it's going to create a lot of diffs. So, interesting. Let me see if I can introduce a linting error. I mean, there's got to be some way to do it, right? No. Unnecessary those. Yeah, this is automatically running. Well, so we may not be able to tell. Like I may not need to mess with my linter later. But at least what we'll do for right now is to run Yarn Lint, and we'll just add that as well. Now I'm going to push it up to the server. Now check this out. So when we reload the page, it's going to show the new commit, right? Hello. And now check it out. Some checks haven't completed yet. It looks like because I'm the administrator, I can merge the pull requests before, but I think for other users, it would prevent them from merging it. So that's good. That's good protection. Like you want tests. Like if you're doing test-driven development, you want your tests to be thorough and to run well. So we'll just watch this real quick, and then when it's done, we'll merge it in and then move over to doing a little bit of covering some edge cases here. Building server. Could be nice to actually put the unit tests first because they might run faster. Let's see. I'll do that offline. But yeah, Cypress, unit tests, and linting all passed, and so we're good to go. So this is great coverage. This is putting this app in really good shape to make sure that our PRs are really working. So now that that is passed, all checks have passed. Now we can merge it in, and so let's merge it. Okay, cool. So we're here on master. So now we'll switch on to our next focus for the day, which is unit testing some edge cases. So Cypress, let's think through what we're testing right now and adding a restaurant spec. We visit the page. We make sure the new restaurant name field is not visible. Then we add it. We say we want to add it. We type in the new restaurant name. We click save, and then we confirm that the field has gone away and the restaurant name is saved on the page. So that's good, but let's think about some other edge cases we could do. So one edge case might be if we open the modal and we want to cancel out of it. So let's just go ahead and do test-driven development here. Well, so let's think about this first. So actually, you know what? This one I might need to do in an end-to-end test. Let's see what happens. Let's see what's in our unit test. New restaurant form. Yeah, so the form itself is not related to the modal. And so in this case, we can't actually test the cancel button is coming in as part of this unit test. So in other circumstances, I might have said, you know, I'm not going to test that in an end-to-end test, but let's go ahead and put it in so we can see what it's like. And if it gets annoying over time, we could take it out. So what we could say here, how would we go through this flow to do it? I mentioned before that it can be a good idea in end-to-end tests to include everything in one long sequence to prevent redo time to have to kind of start over from scratch. So there's a new restaurant name. So we click on add restaurant button and then we type in the text field. So what we could do is we could go in here and then we can type a cancel add restaurant button. We can click on a cancel add restaurant button, and then we could confirm that the new restaurant name field is again not visible. Then we'll click on add again, and then we'll proceed ahead with entering it. So this is kind of getting hard to follow, so let's add some comments to show what's going on here. Confirm, or let's even say modal not shown at the start. Modal can be canceled. Modal allows adding restaurant. Okay, so this should test drive it. So let's open up Cypress and see. So the test that we've written is failing on, we expected to find the element cancel add restaurant button, but we never found it. So let's see what this close button is. You know, oftentimes in TDD you wouldn't have anything like this close button, but in this case we actually do. So let's see. It has some classes on it. And I wonder if, you know, we could actually try, well, so let's see here. So this is interesting because that close button is created for us on our restaurant list page. We provide the add restaurant button, but we don't provide the cancel or the close button for the modal. So it could be hard to target that. So instead, I think what I'm going to do is just to target the DOM elements that we actually have. So this is in the add restaurant modal with ID there. Maybe we can add a data test attribute to that. We want to get the close button inside the add restaurant modal. So remember, one of the ideas of the data test attribute is even when you have ID attributes that are being used for something, data test attributes allow you to do those for totally different purposes. Man, this format on save is going to drive me crazy. So we're just going to have to switch. I'm sure I could get this working in Visual Studio Code, but you're witnessing in real time me switching over to Atom because this is, you know, honestly, this is one of the things that we experienced back in the day with IDEs, and it's not something that I love. And so you know, certainly anyone is welcome to give me feedback on why this is happening in Visual Studio Code, but I think I'm going to actually do it in Atom here because I think that's what I prefer right now. Now, one thing that's interesting is Atom doesn't let you have the terminals on the right-hand side as nicely, so that's unfortunate. So we're just for on the stream live right now, we're going to just keep them over there in Visual Studio Code, even though that's kind of weird. So let's open the test back up, and there it is. And then in the new restaurant form, yeah, let's go into this. Yeah, all right. So like I was saying, data test shouldn't change for any reason other than your test. So I'm going to actually select it by the data test there. And now in our spec, what I'm going to do instead is, instead of looking for a cancel add restaurant button, I'm going to look for data test add restaurant modal. And then, where was that? This is something else. Let's quit out of that so I don't get distracted by that again. Oh yeah, there's the other Google Chrome over here. And then it's in the modal footer. And button, they have button class, so we'll just use that. Modal close. Cool. So let's see if this works to close out the modal. Cancel it out. Yeah, it worked. And let's try it. We can click add restaurant. We can click close. Wait. Oh, right. No, sorry. I was thinking we didn't have an option to cancel or to close. So that was covered now in the app. Now we're just covering it in the test as well. So that's great. All right, so let's add a commit for that. Confirm we can cancel the modal. All right, so let's see what else is on the list here. Another thing, let's see the behavior here. So click on Add Restaurants. So the restaurant name field is not selected by default. So it would be nice to click on it to select it by default. So how can we test this? Now we can check and see if Cypress will let us do an assertion on this. So let's see it. Cypress, check if text field has focus. Just Googling this stuff. So this allows us to focus on it interactively. Like this gives us Cypress the command to do it. Examples, focus, but I want to test on if it has focus. So that's a command, but let's check assertions. I don't see an assertion for focus. So let's just Google for another minute or so. Focused. Get the DOM element that is currently focused. Here we go. CY focus should have attribute name username. So this is going to allow us to check on the focused element. So this is going to be great. So we'll copy this over. We'll go to Atom this time. And so let's check here. So we modal not shown at the start. So let's see here. Modal focuses on. And actually, you know what? This we don't necessarily need to do right here. This we could do at a component level test. But I think this feels enough like a unit level test. So let's keep it at the unit level here. Modal focuses on text field when appears. So CY, the focus element should have attribute, not name username, but it's going to be data test of value new restaurant name. All right? When we open it up, the focus element should have the attribute data test new restaurant name. So let's see if that's the case. I mean, it should not be. Okay, this is the element is not open, so that doesn't seem right. So we want to move the add restaurant click up here. I think that's what we want to do. So again, this is interesting, right? Like this is with test-driven development, we make sure the test fails and fails in the right way first. And interestingly, it was nice that with Cypress's visuals they showed over here, I was able to see, hey, I'm supposed to be seeing the modal. I don't expect it not to be visible there at all. I've done something wrong. Okay, so now it says expected button to have attribute data test with the value new restaurant name, but the value is add restaurant button. So this is saying that there's a button here that is focused, I guess, because of like accessibility and stuff like that. Or maybe it's, oh no, it's the add restaurant button we've already clicked on. So we expected the focus to be data test new restaurant name, and it was not. So now that we've got a red failing test, we can go in and get it to pass. So let's see here. So we have our new restaurant form, and yeah, I think I'll just do component did mount. So when it mounts, this is interesting. Setting the focus in React. I wonder if you could do it like declaratively. That would be interesting. Let's look it up. I don't know. What's the React way? This name input focus. Okay, so we're using refs. Okay. All right, we'll do that. Hopefully the refs works with this kind of style of React Materialized input. If not, we'll have to experiment with that. So the deal is we want the actual DOM element given to us by refs so that we could call focus on that DOM element. So we're going to want to have a name input and call focus on it. And then down here, we'll do ref input. Actually, we can do this because I'm okay with that style of code. In fact, on this project, I might not even be linting that. Nice. Oh, we're in the wrong editor, aren't we? All right, well, let's close all these. Let's go back over to here. Undo that change. All right, here we go. Okay, so component did mount. This name input focus. And then how does that code work? Input ref. So this is one of the things about using a third-party input component instead is any code examples that you see that reference doing things with input elements are no longer quite the same, and so you may have to adapt that. So there's a cost involved with using something like React Materialized or really any other UI framework, I would think. All right, so let's try this. Not a function. All right, name input. Actually, let's do this. Instead of calling name input focus, let's do console.log this name input, and let's find out what is being mapped to us. And in fact, we could do this in here. Okay, there's an object. Props and state. So this looks like an actual React thing, but then there's an input property on it. So that's interesting. Name input, input. So let's output just the input itself. Let's see how that works. See if that gives us what we want. Yeah, and then there it is. So that's actually great. So now we can hopefully do focus. Hopefully this will A, not blow up, and B, pass the test. So let's see if either or both of those things happen. We'll reload. No, it doesn't. Okay, so let's check it out here. Let's check out what happens. Add restaurant. Could be because of the animation. That's possible. So let's not go into there. Let's go into here. Let's, once again, console.log name input. Oh, check it out. So yeah, this, I think we found this out last time with the modal as well. The DOM elements are actually mounted already. So this is actually mounted when the page first comes up. So that's not, you know, going to refocus on it again once it shows. So let's go back to the React Materialized docs and see if we can run some code after the modal appears. See if we can figure out how to do that. Trigger. Fix footer. No trigger. Actions. Oh, interesting. The button's just showing the footer. Cool. That actually is interesting. I might actually take advantage of it. Let me write that down. Modal actions for buttons, because that could be a way to make the buttons look more natural. Interesting. The ID to trigger the modal opening and closing. I wonder. Oh, right. That's just what we did. Makes sense. Modal is open on mount. Modal options. So let's see here. React Materialize run code when modal finishes showing. Open modals programmatically. A lot of Googling today as we find the answers to these things. Show modal. Nothing there looks right. And a file upload. Interesting. Okay, so let's see what else we have. No trigger. Modal options. Let's look into... I'm not sure actually where I would find out. I could look into modal options objects. Let's search for that here in the docs. That's not coming up. Yeah, you know what? I think I looked in the source code before. Not like all through the source code, but just looked through what was on GitHub. So let's check that out. Go in GitHub in the project. We'll search for this modal options object that they say is a thing that exists. Modal spec. Modal. Let's see here. So that just is assigning things. That's passing things to the actual materialized JavaScript at the time. Interesting. Well, you know, let's see what else there is here. Trigger, button, modals. These modals are really challenging me. Bottom sheet fix for no trigger. Yeah, this is what we want to do. So if we don't have that trigger, it's going to open, but then we may not necessarily know when that process completes. So that's still not going to be ideal. So I think we might get stuck here. We might not be able to do very much with this. Modal options. Let's just check the tests. Opponent did mount. Is there any life cycle hooks? I doubt there would be. I'm gonna have to switch back over to here. Probably not props. Huh. So it's all being rendered out from the start. You could do some stuff. Yeah, no. It's not totally obvious. So I think I may put this one on hold, actually. Focus on text field is presenting a challenge. And again, this is very interesting. So if we had implemented the modal ourselves, we'd have control. Like we'd know the method that was called, and when it was done, we would control the animation ourselves, like any animation promises or callbacks, so we'd be able to hook in code that happens then. So there's a lot of convenience for off-the-shelf components here, but they can present some challenges as well. And I think if we weren't using the modal, a lot of the rest of Materialized would be very straightforward, but this not so much. So let's undo this. I'll look into this afterwards. Okay. What else do I have on my list? And we'll go for just a little bit longer before we end for the day. You know what? I think what we'll do, let's go ahead and take advantage. Let's do some refactoring under this property that we saw here under modals for actions. Let's see if we can figure that out. And then next time we'll get into some additional features. The buttons to show in the footer of the modal, and the default is close. So let's take a look in the code there and see if they show it. They do not show it. So let's see if we can figure that out. And really, this is a case where we'd make changes to the code and have it covered by the existing tests that cover over it. So what do actions? Okay, yeah, here. So here's an example. Actions is an array. This is snap. Oh, it's a snapshot. Right, so okay. So we actually pass an array of JSX things here. And button modal equals close. So that's actually an attribute. It's going to do a thing. Oh, so that actually may give us a better way to close things. So let's try that real quick first. Let's see. We did on-click. Wait. What? Oh, no. Yeah, programmatically, we're still going to need that from within there. Add restaurant modal close. So let's see here what we can do. So the trigger is this, and then actions. So this is interesting though. So think about this from a component arrangement standpoint. So right now, our save action, our save button lives in the new restaurant form, and we pass an onSave action into it. But now the action lives out here at the modal, and so that doesn't have access to get into to call a method in the new restaurant form or something like that. We could have the new restaurant form in real time save data back up to the outside here. But I don't think I like that. I think I like having that encapsulated and wrapped up in the new restaurant form. So the other option would be to actually move the modal into the new restaurant form component itself. So the new restaurant form component would include the add restaurant button as well as the modal. But there might be even another option. Let's check it out here. Let's see what our options are. So in the no trigger approach, you can have one button and then a separate modal for it. So the button could open the modal by ID, and then the modal could know about itself. So in this approach, the add button could still be in our component, and then the modal would be inside the new restaurant form component, and then it would have access to the save action. And at that point, it would also become complex because the modal would need to have an open attribute to make sure it was open by default in our test and things like that. That starts to feel complex. So that's maybe too much of a refactoring for today. So let's talk through a bit of well, let's actually make sure the tests are all still running. That would be a good idea. Unit test is passed. Cypress test is good, and we're good to go. So yeah, let's push this up, and then we'll talk about other things we're going to do next time. Did we get anything in? We got confirm we can cancel modal. That's the only edge case we got in here today. So this is a very interesting stream today. Let's push it up, and while the test is running on CI, we can talk about what's up for next time. All right, we got a branch here. Compare and pull request. Confirm we can cancel modal. Create that pull request. Now Circle CI is starting. So let's talk about what's up for next time. The other kind of refactoring that I would like to do. So, we got our restaurant. We got Sushi Place. It saves. The other thing is, when we add a new restaurant... Oh, here's an edge case. Check this out. Sushi Place is not cleared out yet. Another edge case is, if we have a blank restaurant name and click Save, that blank restaurant is not saved as well. So actually, I think I've changed my mind. I think I want to come in and try to get at least one more of these features in. Let's get in... So validation is going to be a little bit too much. We're actually going to try... I will look it up. Next time, we're going to try the Formic library for forms in React without the tiers. I've been looking forward to trying Formic sometime and hadn't gotten the opportunity to do it. So we're going to try using Formic to do our form handling as well as validation. So I think there's a validate method. That's going to be really nice. So the thing I think we could maybe do today was the fact that the restaurant name is not cleared out when we open it again. So let's add a test in for that. And I think we can get that in. Modal clears out. And actually, so this is interesting. So we want the modal to clear out the text field. So we could add in another step to open the modal one more time to make sure that it's cleared out at the end. But at that point, like, we're doing a lot of repetitive tasks in the end-to-end test. And so this, I think I'd like to do in a unit test instead. This can be a responsibility of the new restaurant form, because I'd actually like to clear out the text within the form itself once handle save happens. So let's add that in real quick and see how it goes. The unit test for new restaurant form. So clicking the save button, so far we've said it calls the onSave handler. We can add another condition here as well. We should say when we click the save button, it should also clears the text field. So we'll start this out. So what steps do we need to run through here in our jest enzyme test to check that clicking the save button clears the text field? Well, one thing is we need to go ahead and mount the same wrapper and do these same steps to type in and click save. So let's move those up to a before each. I'm going to reduce some duplication there. And we can do just like, yeah, we'll let save handler out at this level. And then save handler will go here. These steps will happen before each of the steps. And again, because this is down at a unit test level, things will go faster for us to do a before each to do some steps repeatedly. So we have to have less concern about that. And here we expect the save handler to have been called with Sushi Place. And then here, we're going to check that the text field was cleared. So we're going to, I guess the wrapper we need to save to a variable we can access from elsewhere as well. So we find the text field with a new restaurant name. I know this is, I'm thinking about our end-to-end test where we check the text. Actually, we didn't check the test. I'm thinking about a different kind of test. So let's check here. Enzyme, check if text field is empty. See how to do that in enzyme. Oh, I see an is empty. That looks promising. Use exists instead. Okay, well, so that's not what we want. Let's see here. Find the input and then props.value. All right. So let's see here. Props.value. Expect wrapper find props.value to equal empty string. And this should fail now. Again, we're doing test-driven development. This should fail because we're not clearing out the text at the start. We'll check over here for our test. It's running. And we said, there we go, cool. So we expected the value to be empty string, but it was Sushi Place. And this is because when we click the save button, it does not clear out the new restaurant name field. So let's do that real quick. It's actually very easy to implement. This.setState input text empty string. That should do it. That should be the simplest solution that passes our test here. The test runs, the test passes, and so that's great. So now let's check it in the application manually ourselves. So we go in here, we save a restaurant, and then when we add a new one, the restaurant name is empty. It's interesting, it shows up with our material design animation with restaurant name up there as though we have not yet selected it. And that's okay, I'm okay with that. So cool, we managed to get one more feature in. Clear out text field upon save. Now I'm willing to bet the cancel will not actually clear out either, but that's something we could test another time. So now our test is going to rerun on our branch, and we put up another commit. So let's talk real quick one more time. What is it saying? Unsaved changes. Yeah. So let's talk, oh yeah, this is in Visual Studio Code. Let's talk one more time about testing this edge case in the unit test versus the end-to-end test. In our end-to-end test, we tested some things like making sure the modal could be canceled, and we wanted to test focus. Maybe we'll get to that a bit later. But then it was down at our unit test level that we confirmed that it cleared out the text field. So one of the reasons that folks recommend testing edge cases like this at the unit level is that any end-to-end test framework is going to be slower than a unit test. And so if you have a lot of different conditions, then a few different things are going to happen. Either the list of steps you're walking through is going to get longer and longer, and you're going to see just repetitive things going back and forth and doing all kinds of different things. Or else you're going to have a lot of different tests that are repeating themselves and getting really slow as they're navigating to all these different edge cases. So neither of those is ideal. Instead, at a unit test level, you can very quickly run through and test these edge cases. You can have individual assertions that happen so you get very clear output that shows you exactly what's going on, what's passing, and what's not. Unit tests at this level can also kind of provide input. Basically, they let you just more quickly set up the scenario of the things that you want to test rather than having to run through potentially the whole application to get there. So that's why in general I like to have edge cases tested more at the unit level and not drive those out through end-to-end tests. So my happy path, of the main thing the user wants the feature to do, I'll do that, drive that out from the end-to-end testing level, have the end-to-end test and step down into the component test inside. Maybe one error case as well, if it's like a form with a lot of validations, and we'll show one error case in there. But for all the other error cases and other strange kind of edge behaviors, I would test those out at the unit testing level when I can. So that's what I like doing, and feel free to give that a try or something else a try and see what you think. Our test has passed, so we can merge. I don't usually merge as a part of the stream, but today we will because that's related to what we're doing. We've merged, the branch is deleted, and we can go back to master, and we're good. So thanks for joining in today. We ran into some interesting things with that modal component. It's still giving us a lot of trouble, and that's okay though. So next time, what we're going to do, the edge case we're going to handle is validations. So as I showed you, we can go and add a restaurant and click save without a restaurant name in there. And that would not be too hard to add a quick condition in on. But instead of doing that, I want to use the formic library, and that's going to allow us to simplify our forms as well and have things go smoother. And again, we'll be able to refactor our application to this because we've got end-to-end test coverage and unit test coverage. So our adding a restaurant spec should still work covering the formic refactor, and our unit test should still work as well because we're just simulating changes to inputs and clicks on buttons. We should be good to go. Might have to address something differently or something to pull it up. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me for the stream. I hope to catch you next time as we add some validation and continue to move forward to learn more things about TDD and React. So I'm Josh, I'm coding it wrong, and we'll catch you next time. See ya! Now let's go to the slide.